Welcome to episode 4 of the Tri-State Hockey Podcast presented by Novig. I'm your host, Jonny Lazarus, joined by my good friends, longtime NHL reporter Arthur Staple and Stanley Cup champion Mike Rupp. There's only going to be one happy member of this show today, and that is Arthur, because the Islanders are coming off of a 6-1-0 road trip, beating some really impressive teams. I mean, they got wins against the Rangers. Well, I guess let's not start there. The Rangers, the Devils, the Golden Knights, the Mammoth, the Stars, and the Red Wings last night. The only loss coming to the Colorado Avalanche. The Devils, 1 goal in their last 2 games without Jack Hughes, and the New York Rangers are now on their third 3-game losing streak. So I'm just going to ask you off the bat, Arthur, how you feeling right now?
Pretty good. Pretty good. The group chat is very lively these days. I think my Islander boys are feeling like there's something a little magical happening with this group, considering the expectations. I think a lot of fans are feeling like it's got some 18-19 vibes to it. Barry Trotz's first year, Lou Lamoriello's first year, where John Tavares leaves in free agency. Lots of good things and one pretty negative thing happens, and Barry Trotz was able to kind of rally those guys together and say, it's us against the world, which is, I think that should be the motto for every Islander fan. Is the way that they attack hockey Twitter and the way that they go about their business on social media. It's certainly a different style of play. When you see an Islander team that can score this many goals, it feels like, geez, are we looking at Pierre Turgeon and Benoit Hogue and Ray Ferraro, or are we looking at Matthew Barzal and Bo Horvat and Matthew Schaefer? It's a different kind of Islanders team. I know some of the analytics aren't looking great defensively, but when Ilya Sorokin's playing the way that he did last night and really through this whole road trip, and again, you look at that road trip, it looked like make or break, and I think everybody was leaning break about this team. There's a lot of tough teams on that road trip. They started off good with beating the 2 locals, but and the one game that they lost might have been the best game they played on the road trip out in Denver. It just was a couple bad minutes against the best team in the league. So they're not there yet, but man, everybody's feeling good, and they got a right to be.
It's funny when you talk about them, and we can state this now, and we said it probably in our first episode, that Ilya Sorokin has found his game, and he was starting to. I remember first episode, he had about 3 solid starts in a row. But this is what I always think about in the NHL is when you get a dominant goalie like that has his game on point, you only need like one other thing going your way, and you'll win games. So you don't have to be a perfect team. So, I mean, I would even use the Rangers as an example when you date back a couple years ago when they won the President's Trophy, where at times when you're getting that goaltending, that solid goaltending, like you just need a solid power play. Maybe it's not the power play for the moment. Maybe it's just some depth scoring. Maybe it's just good defensive play in front of the goaltender as well, and you can eke out some games. But that's kind of like the Islanders. The Islanders now, they're scoring more goals. To your point, Arthur, they're not the shutdown Islanders that we've seen in prior years, which is totally fine. And quite frankly, I don't think anybody fucking wants that. So, but it just shows you on a night like last night, they generated a lot. They earned and deserved to put points on the board offensively, and they get solid goaltending. That's going to win you games. So, like, can you expect your expected goals to be around 5 every single night? Maybe, probably not. But those nights, just tweak the defensive play a little bit and just be solid, and you'll win games. They got a nice little recipe going right now.
Here's the one difference, though, that I'll go back at Arthur with. Like, I don't think it's an us against the world. Like, it's not the Islanders against the world anymore. It's kind of like hey, hop on the bandwagon. I think that's what it's turned into with the Islanders. That's at least what I'm seeing in a lot of my mentions, right? Like, the Islanders have now, or I guess they have this product now that they can sell, right? Like, they have. I mean, they play the St. Louis Blues at 3:30 on Saturday afternoon. There should not be one empty seat in UBS Arena. Like, that should be the loudest building in the NHL on Saturday, and they deserve that. And I think everyone's coming around to that, right? Where like those Trotz teams, it was like, I swear we're actually good. It's not fake. Like, we're just playing winning style hockey. I promise. Like we're but now it's like, watch for yourself. We're good.
Yeah.
Like we got something to show. So I think it's a little different in that sense.
I agree. And I think the main part about the Trotz teams was we're going to grind you down, and nobody wants that. Opposing teams don't want that. opposing fans don't want that. Certainly the hockey media, the punditry of the NHL was always rolling its eyes at the Islanders being good because they were winning 2-1 or 3-2, or kind of, you get a Casey Zizekas 20-goal season in there and people are like, this isn't sustainable. They can't do it. Mostly because it was frustrating to watch. And now I agree that the excitement level is off the charts because of Schaefer, because of Bo Horvat tied for the league lead in goals, because Sorokin's making big saves because he has to, because there's a lot of high danger happening in front of him. It's and I think we can't let this week pass since we did our last show. You got Patrick Waugh being Patrick Waugh behind the bench.
Yeah.
He's coaching a good game. He's losing his mind on Mikko Rantanen, his old player in Colorado, after a bad hit on Alex Romanov. That seems like it's going to be a long-term injury for Romanov. That kind of fiery, Rupper, you can talk to this. I'll let you go on this. You've been on an NHL bench before. I always understood it to be the unwritten rule is the opposing coach doesn't say anything to your players. Like, that pisses everybody off. But in this instance, what does it do for the Islanders when their coach is the guy saying, we're going to see you in New York in March. You better fucking buck up, buddy. And what does that do for a bench, Rupper?
Well, first of all, Patty Waugh, since he's taken over and been a head coach in the NHL, dating back to his first game in Colorado, he kind of marches to the beat of his own drum, because he was doing that from his first NHL game, chirping the other players at different times. So yes, that is the unwritten rule, but Patrick Waugh doesn't give a shit about it. He's gonna, and here's the thing about it in that moment that I loved, and so I'll tell a little story and I'll bring it back to the Islanders, because this has happened to me before too. In some regard, where I was playing, I think it was, so I was playing for the Blue Jackets at one point in my career, just for one season. And so then I'm playing for the Penguins. You fast forward a number of years later, and I took a run at Rick Nash. And
After
I
you
got him
left Columbus?
Yeah, after I left Columbus, I got Nasher lined up, and I got him pretty good. And so there's a whistle, just a stoppage of play, no penalty, whatever, but I got him. And I was going back to my bench and going for a line change. And Gord Murphy, the assistant coach who I had in Columbus, that was on a staff with like Gerard Gallant, Gord Murphy starts screaming at me from their bench. And to your point, Arthur, like that just doesn't happen. You don't have coaches speak to players really ever. It is the unwritten rule. So I'm just kind of looking over. I don't really say anything. I come back to the bench. I get to the bench. And on the coaching staff in Pittsburgh, we had Tony Granato. Tony G comes down to me and he goes, is fucking Gord Murphy, is he saying shit to you? Is he saying something to you? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. He was just chirping me about taking a shot at Nash or whatever. And he goes, what'd he say? What'd he say? I'm like, it's all good. And Tony's like getting fired up behind my shoulder. And next thing you know, he's like pointing in the glass, and he's threatening to meet Gord Murphy like in the hallway. And I'm literally like, Tony, I'm like, Tony, it's good. It's all good, man. But my point in all that, from that day forward, what we all saw from our assistant coach there is he got a little squirrely for us. He was in it with us. He's one of us. That's huge, man. And those things can't be fake. They can't be calculated. It just happens on emotion. And Tony was a very emotional player when he played. And I was like, I'm indebted for this guy. Like, for whatever reason, I felt like Tony's my man from here on out. I'll run through a wall for him. Tone, what do you need? Anything you need. And I run into him at NHL Network, and big hugs all the time now. And it was just unique. It was something different that galvanized my relationship with the coach, but also I think his relationship as a coach on that team. So let's fast forward to what Patty Waugh did the other night. All emotion. I don't think any of that's calculated. He's fired up. You could see his face was as red as it can possibly be. And all of a sudden, I'm like thinking to myself, and it matters who he is also. I think that's a big thing, because I think a lot of times when you're talking the best of evers in any sport, sometimes they don't want to be seen in vulnerable spots or different ways. Patty Waugh didn't give a shit. He's going to scream his head off. He's going down there. He's basically threatening a player. And I'm like, I love it. I'm sitting there. I'm like, hell yeah. Like, you want to know if we got something different? That's different. And that is galvanizing. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, hey, I'm going to start paying attention a little bit more of like some of the little things with this Islander squad, because I've heard for years what a special group it is in that room. Now you've got this coach who's doing that. You start going, want to run through a wall, sacrifice anything for the guy. That for me is dangerous, because There's not every team can do that. I mean, I would almost argue on the other side too. Maybe that was a cue for Glenn Gullickson. Maybe I understand it's a weird circumstance because of
Mhm.
the player hurt, but I don't know. Maybe tell him to shut his mouth and don't talk to your play. You know what I mean? Like there's an
Yeah.
opportunity that was taken there by Patty Waugh. And again, not calculated. I thought it was huge, and it kind of really lets me know that they kind of got something special going on here.
Yeah, and it's it's wild that that's like already old news, right? That hit. It's been talked about so much. It's been,
Mhm.
I think, I don't want to say it's been like overplayed and we shouldn't talk about it, but like, it will be interesting to see what that rematch looks like. If you're Dallas, I mean, that late in the season, right? Because the rematch is in April,
End of March. Yeah, end of
end of
March.
March, end of March. Like, do you even play Miko Rantanen in that game? Is that soft if you don't play Miko Rantanen in that game? Like, what? Like,
Yes.
That
Patrick
is
Waugh made
soft
it
if you
clear.
don't play
Yeah, but
Coranton in
like,
that game.
but if you're pushing for the playoffs and like the Islanders are going to come after him, like,
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how
yeah,
much it's now that those certain words came out from
yeah,
Patty, you got eyes on the whole situation. Like I'm not too sure you could do very much.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see where things are at that time. But in the meantime, I think we got to see. I just find in the NHL a lot of times a really hard thing for coaching staffs is there is still a barrier between a coach and a player, even if
Mhm.
that coach was a former player. Sometimes you got to break those barriers down. This, if you needed it, this just wrecked it all down. Like it's
Mhm.
all like now all of a sudden I'm like, I love this guy. And not that you didn't prior. So yeah, that was just something I know happened a little bit ago. I don't know where it goes from here, what it means, but that's a pretty good indicator for me that something's different with this group.
And we will spend a little bit of time here on the Islanders, deservingly so. I do believe we have a voicemail that could kind of carry us into this conversation. So we got a lot of voicemails again that we usually play at the end of the show, but this one will start at the beginning of the show with Harrison here. So let's hear this voicemail.
Hey Arthur, it's Harrison speaking, and I'm recording this coming off the win against the Red Wings. Do you think the Islanders are legit? Because the underlying numbers sometimes don't look good, advanced stats wise, but I think the team finds ways to win. And obviously, Horvat and Heineman are shooting somewhat unsustainably, but do you think they can keep it up?
It's a great question. Yeah, the numbers are not great. Like they're dead last in the league in expected 5-on-5 goals against. You can't really win. You're not going to have a 127-point team with those kinds of defensive numbers, and certainly in the playoffs when you're seeing a team in a best-of-7 series or 4 of them, if you can get as good as you're going to get, you got to be able to play defense a lot better than that. Obviously, they have Sorokin going really well, which is important. Finding ways to win to me is the most important thing you can. It's not a stat; it's just kind of vibes. But it's the most important quality a team can have in the regular season because it's just about getting as many points as you can get. Obviously, that was speaking of the 18-19 Islanders. That was the Barry Trotz motto. They won a ton of games in overtime and in shootouts those couple years he was here because you just need the 2 points. That's all. And they won in Vegas in overtime, in Utah in overtime. So I think you're seeing a team that is building that into its DNA, that they know that you just got to get some points, even if you go to overtime, if you go to a shootout, who cares? Once you're up in that playoff spot, it's just about amassing enough to keep everybody at bay. And it's a huge group that's right behind them, obviously, with that's still that huge group of East teams. But I think for this year, yeah, you can say they're for real because the East is so middle heavy, I guess you could say. I mean,
Yeah.
we've talked about this before. Is there anybody in the East that scares you? Canadians and Devils looked like those two teams to be, the first 15 games, and now they're both in serious trouble. Devils because of injuries. Canadians can't get a save. The Red Wings were the top team in the Atlantic going into last night, and the Islanders have punked them twice this year. So I think they can feel good and feel confident about what they're able to do. And again, I don't want to pass by it. I'm sure we'll talk about it with some of the other voicemails, but finding a fourth line like they did that just owned the game last night with Casey Cizikas, who's, kind of been in the
Yeah.
spotlight for the wrong reasons this year. Cal Ritchie, who's turning into a nice little rookie, 20 years old, and Max Shabanov, who comes back into the lineup a couple games ago, kind of doesn't really find a spot 2-2 last night, and maybe the prettiest goal of the night to make it 5-0, where he undresses everybody on the Detroit D. So there's excitement up and down this lineup. There's confidence up and down this lineup. Yeah, I think they're legit. Even if they lose a couple, they know that they've got this run in their back pocket to look back and say, we can do it. We can beat anybody, even some of the top teams in the West that most people might not think the East teams can compete with.
So let me ask you this, Arthur, off of that, which win on this road trip was the most impressive to you?
I think the one in Dallas, that was a wild one. And, I hate to go back to the, same old Islanders, like, woe is us. I've heard it. I've covered them for so long, and it's not a knock on Islander fans. Some of it is justified, but there is always this feeling of we're going to get sand kicked in our faces, whether it's a call that we should have gotten, or a team that's going to benefit from a situation like the Rantanen situation, where the Islanders are going to lose Romanov for multiple weeks and Rantanen doesn't get suspended. It just always seems like they zig when they should zag in key moments like that. And that third period was such a wild one. Even before that, it was Bo Horvat getting called for the high stick after he got tripped. He gets a 10, so he's out of the game, their best forward. They have to kill the 4 minutes. Horvat should be out there. Instead, it's Casey Cizikas, who hasn't killed a penalty all year. And all of a sudden, Kyle Palmieri produces a shorty on a 2-on-1 thanks to Casey Cizikas. So, the things that maybe you would catch your eye and say, yeah, man, it's just how it is for the Islanders. Or even the last second overturned goal with the goalie interference at 0.1 left in the game. That goal counts, and they lose that game in overtime. Suddenly everybody's vibes are, the juice just runs out of this team, because you say, like, oh, okay, all is right with the world. Planets are aligned. The Islanders got fucked. Dallas is a better team. And this is how it usually is. But they got the right call there. They kept the win in regulation. And so suddenly I think you're like, it was a weird one, but with all that happened in that third period, other than the Romanov injury, it all went the Islanders' way. And I think you can say, after seeing that, like, yeah, you can't quantify it, but there's something to this team, and they're getting the breaks. They're making their own breaks. Their coach is losing his mind in a situation where you want him to lose his mind. It's all good stuff.
Yeah. The only thing I'd like to tag on that too is just, I was looking at stuff while you were talking there, Arthur. I mean, this is the biggest key cog in all of this is you got Ilya Sorokin playing a high brand of hockey. Like, that's first and foremost. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying before, where you don't need a ton of other things to go your way. Like, they are scoring goals this year. The total, their goals for, I think they're like 6th or 7th in the league. They have put the puck in the net. Now, I know their underlying numbers are really bad for chances against, but the actual goals against, because of that goaltending, is the middle of the pack. So it's buying you some time to just tweak that and get that going a little bit more. We're not asking it to be the Barry Trotz era. We already established that. I don't think anybody really wants that, but just get it a little bit better. And the other thing too that I think is not going, and that can get going and really help sustain when there's dips in other areas, that power play's got to get better, and it should. I mean, why wouldn't it? It's when you start getting more confidence, and that's what they should be having right now. I would expect a little bit of a bump. I mean, if you can get that power play a little, even if it's high teens, honestly, just give me high teens on that power play. All of a sudden, that can maybe offset some dips in other areas. So, yeah, they're intriguing. I said that to you the other day in our thread. I said there's something about this team that's intriguing to me, because I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's got my interest, that's for sure.
I think last night's game, again, the broadcast and the Islanders also, like, credit to the Islanders broadcast crew. Like, they're one of the better, I think, broadcast. I mean, I'm a little biased because I get to watch MSG, but I think they're one of the better broadcast crew also in the NHL when it comes to regional sports networks. But, one key thing they were highlighting, and I don't know if it was Brennan Burke or Butch Goring who said it, but this can't be like a last day of school, right? Where you've been on this long road trip, you're going home at the end of it. You can't just like breeze by it. And the guys really wanted to buy in and win the game and end the road streak on a high note, because, how many times do you see a 6th or 7th game on a lengthy road trip where a team just, kind of goes out there and is like, fuck it, we'll do our best. But like, it's a scheduled loss, right? And for the Islanders to win the way they won last night, like, usually I'm known for jinxing things. When it was 1-0, I was like, it might be time to take the Islanders seriously as a playoff team. And everyone was like, oh, fuck, here we go. They're going to lose this game. And they go on and win. You know what I mean? Like, they go on and have a pretty convincing performance. And even that Bo Horvath goal last night, just the way they execute a simple offensive zone faceoff play, like bang, bang, back of your net, I think 4 seconds after the puck is dropped, like that just shows you a team that's bought in at the end of a 7-game road trip. Like that's even more impressive, I think, too, where that could have been a throwaway game against a team that, Arthur, you mentioned too, like the Red Wings were, I think, on a 3-game winning streak going into the last night's game. So I find that little mental part of it to be just as impressive too, as putting together the amount of wins they did, and the actual, goal, all the things on the ice that you can pinpoint. The mentality, like that's a big part of it also, right?
Yeah, for
100%.
sure. And this is a team that, like Rupper was saying, you hear it for years. Very tight knit group. The guys that go to the island for whatever reason always want to be there. It's a great place to live. All this other stuff that when guys do end up going there, discover. But it's still kind of a hidden gem, and they kind of, it's kind of a secret world because it's not a team that gets covered very much in national media or whatever. But obviously that's going to change now with Matthew Schaefer. They're becoming a must-watch team, and it hasn't really changed that core DNA of, and you credit Anders Lee, who's now the longest-serving captain in Islanders history. It's a guy I understand going into his last year of contract. And when the season started, we said, okay, this is a guy who might get traded, by the deadline. He's still an effective player. He's tailed off a little bit from a hot start, but this is a guy who commands the room really well through a few different coaching eras in the last few years. And, I think that speaks volumes to what the culture is like there. When you talk about culture on a team that's not very good, it doesn't really matter to anybody. But on a team that, when they're on a run like this, suddenly it comes to the fore a little bit more, where you say, okay, they run their room really well. It's a tight-knit group. They clearly like each other. Coaches have their back. The new GM has their back. It all comes together a little bit quicker, I think, when you've got that group that they have at the center of it.
Can I lob out a random thing here? Just a little final thought for me on the Islanders. I don't know what you guys think about this, but I find it really unique because we speak about how that room has stayed intact, and maybe some loyalty from their organization that would drive a lot of fans nuts. I have some Islander fans, friends, I should say, that have been like asking me over the years, why do we keep running it back? Why? We obviously aren't in that room to know. And I think you can argue that it's a fair argument because of maybe the production as far as being a better team hasn't been there. But anyways, I just find that when you talk about, it's just interesting to me when you have Matt Martin still close to the team, when you've got Cal Clutterbuck on the broadcast, like these are guys that are shortly removed, that were huge pieces to this team, the identity line, all those things that we talked about, and they're all still around. And I know that that's not like a huge thing that's going to be measured on the ice, but it feels like there's like this family environment there. And it's cool because it's like you don't get that everywhere. And it just, I don't know if that makes any sense at all. It just,
No, it does.
It feels like, hey, we're kind of in this with you too. And we were part of this. It was a team that got pretty close a couple years. It's a neat feeling. Like, I don't know how else to explain it.
If I can, I just want to jump in there. I could speak firsthand. Like, I've worked actually at Matt Martin's hockey camps, I think 6, 7 summers maybe. And every summer, like, guys have kids that are in the camp. Like, you see Cizikas on the ice, you see Clutterbuck on the ice, you see Palmieri hop on. Like, even the younger guys, Kyle McLean and Marshall Warren, have hopped on. Mitch Marner came down the year after Matt left Toronto. Like, Matt Martin, I mean, just credit to him, honestly, as an individual. Like, he came to Long Island. I forget where exactly in Canada he's from. I think that the Detroit area is near where he's from. But he made Long Island his home, and he also got very involved in the community. And that's I know Detroit's in the US. He's in wherever is like above Michigan. Is where he's from.
I know, I got you. No, I think he's from Windsor. I think he's from Windsor.
Yes, I think you're right. But Matt Martin, again, like when when he entered the NHL, like the Islanders were somewhat of I don't want to say like joke, but things
You can
things
say
weren't
it.
going things
You
weren't
can say
going
it.
that well on Long Island. And I think what he established like in the community for Long Island,
Yeah.
he's a big part of that. And
Mhm.
I've seen it firsthand because I've seen all those guys who are here in the summer who help get involved in his camps, and him talking to little kids. And he mentioned shit. Now maybe it was Chelios. Like there was a highlight on the broadcast last night about someone that he, had worked a lot with when he was a kid that was a former NHL, and how much it meant to him and how he wanted to have that same impact on kids on Long Island. And I thought it was a really nice piece. And I obviously forget who the NHL player that they were talking about was. But to your point, Rupper, yes, a very family like
Right.
feel on Long Island. And that does go a long way, I think.
And
You know,
the new guys that come in, it just kind of things fall into place a little bit more. I don't know. That's just
Schaefer lives with the
a
guy.
little nugget.
Schaefer lives with
Yeah, I
him,
mean,
you know?
100%. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's I don't know, just something I think that's unique that they have going on.
Well, I got to ask you, Johnny, as a native Long Islander, why did you
Yeah.
shun this lovely family environment to root for the big, bad corporate New York Rangers when you were a kid? What the hell,
I
man?
I think I've told this story. I actually like was an Islander fan technically till I was like 6 years old. Like my 6-year-old birthday party was an Islander game. And there's a picture of me somewhere with a Yashin jersey, Islander hair, like
Wow.
orange and blue. And my cousin, who's 5 years older, was a diehard Ranger fan, and he was like, "No, no, no, I cannot allow this. Like this is not happening. Like being an Islander fan is not cool." Like he told me that when I was 6. And then my aunt Amy took me, him, and my dad to my first Ranger game at MSG in like 2002. I got to go to ESPN Zone, and I got to walk into Madison Square Garden and sit like 10 rows above the bench and watch Eric Lindros, Mark Messier. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just kind of fall in love with the Garden when you go there for the first time. Like, that's what it was for me. Like, I fell in love with MSG, and from there, it was just like impossible to go back to loving the Islanders. But I mean, I went to
Right.
Islander games all the time growing up. Like tickets were $15 to go to Nassau Coliseum. So like, yes, everyone says that I'm a closeted Islanders fan. There is a part of me that will always have a special place for the Islanders because I've just been around like their players my entire life. Like, I'd practice at Iceworks. I grew up basically on the mini Bridgeport Sound Tigers, whatever that little rink was called at Iceworks. Like that's where I skated with Fox and McAvoy and all these big names in the NHL now. Like that's where we grew up skating. So like Sean Bates was always around. Eric Cairns was always around. Like those, those guys were always there. But yes, the lesson that I learned at 6 years old was that it was not cool to be an Islanders fan. So that's why I became a Rangers fan.
But also, if you date it back to probably around 2012 time, Johnny, you were probably
I was in 10th grade.
17.
10th grade.
Yeah, so it was like 17 years old, somewhere around there. So little punk Johnny's going around. He's getting to run up to MSG. He's watching the black and blue shirts take care of business. We had a
Yeah.
good squad
Yeah.
too, so I think that had something to do with it. The type of teams that the Rangers had at that time. Right? Am I mistaken, Johnny?
No, no,
That's a
no.
pretty
I
exciting
actually,
time from there through like 15 or whatever.
what's funny too? Like that time, that era, like Facebook was the thing, right? So I was like a little kid, like making Facebook statuses, right? And like all my friends would like comment on it and shit. I'm pretty sure, and I got to go back and find this, Rupper. I think I made a Facebook status when you scored in the winter, like those 2 goals in the Winter Classic. Like, what the Rupp is going on in Philadelphia?
Oh my god.
I might have to go back and find that. Like 16-year-old me, definitely
Oh,
putting
that's
that on the
great.
internet. Yeah, I might have to go back and find that. We've gone off topic. Should we go Devils or should we go Rangers here next before we get into
I
our
think this leads
bonus
nicely
segment?
into the Rangers. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, why ruin a good thing? Okay, so the Rangers last night, I mean, do you guys want me to go on like a little rant here about that game last
Yes,
night?
please.
Like, okay,
Okay.
so it comes down to Colorado's best players, some of the best players in the world, and obviously McCarr, McKinnon, then you add Natchez to that equation, just outplaying the Rangers' best players. The Rangers, almost their worst player last night was their guy making $11.5 million, right? He turns the puck over at the end of the first period with like 30 seconds left, which leads to the tying goal. And you're up 1-0 on the road in Colorado with 30 seconds left in the first period. You got to find a way to get that puck out of the zone, and you're feeling pretty good about yourselves being up 1, playing a really tough team on the road, weathering a storm, going into that first intermission, and then all of a sudden, bang, dead. They tie it up, and the whole bench deflates, and you just feel some sort of negativity go throughout the team, right? And you could feel it through the TV. Then the second period, they're up 2-1. Panarin puts JT Miller in a tough spot on maybe a mini 3-on-2, but there's back pressure, so it's like a 3-on-4 rush. Miller tries to extend and like make a play out of something, send it over to Trocheck. Guys go the other way. McKinnon, Natchez, Makar, they tied up at 2-2. Again, like that to me is a bad decision by Panarin. Ends up in the back of your net. That's 2 leads blown by your best offensive player, just turning the puck over at a bad time. And then Igor Shesterkin, like that's a game where it's 3-3 in the third period. Your team just scored. You got to come up with a save. Like I defend Igor as much as anybody else does. I know people hate the contract. I'm fine with the contract. He's worth it. But in that situation, 3-3 on the road, you have an opportunity where you can really make a statement, and you don't come up with that extra save. And I think that's a big thing we could talk about, but I don't want to speak too much. I want to leave room for you guys to talk about the game. I don't know which one of you wants to take it, but I'll let you guys kind of go in a 50-50 battle in the corner for this one.
Go ahead, Arth.
I mean, I'll take a couple of positives out of that because as one regulation loss in 21 games this year, they're obviously that was going to be a mountain to climb the way that the Rangers have been playing. And JT Miller, couple of PPGs, couple of nice plays in front of the net, maybe get some of that mojo back for him that seems to have been missing pretty much since day one of this season for a guy that's wearing the C now. He's an emotional guy. He's been kind of beating himself up for bad play, but at some point the talk doesn't matter. You have to go out and do it. Mm-hmm. I thought he did it for the most part, kind of move into the wing, which was an interesting decision by Mike Sullivan, just to kind of get him going, maybe take a little bit of the heat off him. And he produces 2 power play goals. So you hope that there's something there that they can build on, as they keep going on this road trip, and just a little bit of resiliency to come back and tie it in the third, where it seemed like the Avs make it 3-2. You think like, all right, nighty night. Like they're not going to get back up off the mat in this game. That's just not been in their part of their game, part of their character, part of their DNA in the last few weeks, but they do, and then quickly give it back. I know you're on Shesterkin. I thought he played okay last night. He
kept him in the game in the second. He kept him in the game.
He made a couple of really, really nice saves. That one, I understand you kick that out. He's got a screen in front of him. It was such a floater. You think he should probably hang on to that one. And then McKinnon actually kind of flubbed that rebound, but he was already so far out of position. You're going to give up goals like that against the Avs. You just are. They're too dangerous. And I maybe even chirp him a little bit for the Makar goal, not getting over post to post on that when he's going around the net. But again, as I always say to people, like Shesterkin is the least of their problems.
Yeah, I
with
agree.
What they've got going on right now. The thing that I look at for them, it's good to get a couple power play goals. Their special teams penalty kill has been really bad lately. They've dropped down. I think they're 22nd now in the league, and that's always been something that's been top 10 for them for a lot of years. They're 5-on-5. I think they're 28th in the league in goals for, goals against, 5-on-5. This team, like how we talked about the Islanders flipping the script from a few years ago of being a team that's going to grind it out to a team that's fun to watch. And I understand the high-flying trade and chances thing is not necessarily what you want to have going into the playoffs. But the Rangers, you got to have some juice. You got to have something going, some consistency, being able to roll line to line and sustain anything. You just haven't seen it from them in almost any game this year. I understand when they were not scoring and generating chances, but it's still so sporadic with them at 5-on-5 that there's just a lot. There's a lot to be concerned about with this group, and it's we keep talking about it because they can't pull themselves out of it. They just seem to be stuck in this rut of mistakes that turn into goals. And Artemi Panarin, he's not a defensive player. He's not a guy whose attention to detail happens at that end of the ice. And you got to live with it because he's one of the very few guys who can produce for them. So on a night like last night where it's highlighted with some of his mistakes, I don't know what you get out of beating him up because he's all you got with maybe one or two other guys in there in terms of offense. I just don't, it was nice to see Adam Edstrom get one. They need more from that fourth line. They need more from their middle two lines. I still feel like if they keep going this way 5-on-5, you got to bring Gabe Perreault back. You got to have some more balance.
Mhm.
Will Cooley, to me, has not shown that he is a permanent top 6 guy yet. He's a very, very good 200-foot player, and he had a nice little run there of goals, I think 3 or 4 games in a row. But Johnny, you've been saying it, and I totally agree. He is an ideal third line guy who
Mhm.
is on your top power play unit. Like, he's a guy, that to me is what a power forward is, a guy who's smart defensively, who can throw some hits, who can generate some chaos in the offensive zone, who can forecheck, which we haven't seen much of that from this team either. And then he gets his cookies on the top power play unit, which is, should be one of the elite ones in the league. So I guess I feel like I don't want to keep having this conversation about this team. I feel like every time we come on the air, we're like, yeah, they fucked it up again, and here's why. And I'm just, I don't know how they get out of it with the group that they have. I don't know that there's a big trade to be made. I don't know how you adjust things. I think Will Borgen missing on D is hurting them a little bit too, because he was getting in a pretty good groove defensively. Yeah, I'm Rupper. Save me here. I'm just at a loss when I watch this.
No,
There's just no life to it.
it's tough to gauge off. Like, I would not overreact on that game. Like,
Yeah.
every team that plays Colorado, you get a realization of how far your team is away from winning the Stanley Cup or being a contender. Like, that's just what they're doing right now. I mean, Johnny, you said in one of the other pods that you watch a lot of Colorado games.
Yeah.
And so when any of us are watching the Colorado game, one of my little games inside the game is when you got a full slate of hockey on a night.
Mhm.
I love when the Avs go down early. I love when it's like 2-0 after the first period. I mean, hell, I've seen it where it's 4-1 at the beginning of the second period, and you're like, oh shit, let's flip that on, because
Mhm.
it's entertaining. You know that they can flip a game real quick, and they can make things. They could tilt that ice in a matter of seconds. So it's hard to really gauge the Rangers. But here's one thing that I'm watching I'm watching that game, and I'm thinking to myself, I want to look it up, and I didn't do it. I was going to do it this morning. I'd love to have the stat of how many, wherever that sweet spot is. Is it the last minute of a period, last 2 minutes of a period, wherever you think that is? The Rangers' game management in certain situations like that is such a backbreaker, because what happens if they escape that first period up one? You know what I mean? Like, it feels different. It just, you're in a hostile environment. You're playing against a team right now that, going into that game, I think they're on pace to, or they could be in the conversation, I should say, with the Bruins points record that was set a few years ago. And it's actually kind of crazy how good Boston Bruins were, because through
Yeah.
19 games going into last night's game, 19 games, only having one regulation loss, you'd think that, oh, they're probably ahead of it. No, they're still 4 points behind the pace of the Bruins. But anyways, it's just the Rangers. That's the one thing still. It's just it's not about playing a perfect game. It's about playing a smart game and finding ways to just manage the game in those certain moments. And that's one thing I really think they've struggled with, is the feeling, the energy, the confidence that just gets sucked out the window when you give up those late goals and go into intermission. It just feels different. It feels different. So that's one of the things last night. I don't know if it would have changed all that much, because again, this is a better team, Colorado, but that was one there, that first goal against, where I'm like, oh man, if you just hang in there for another, what was it? How much time was left? Was it
30 seconds, 25
30
seconds.
seconds?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, what could have been, and you can't play that, but those managing moments have been an issue here for the Rangers.
Well, let me just clarify one. I wasn't trying to necessarily go at Panarin. The point was look at how the Rangers' best player impacted the game versus look at how Colorado's best players impacted the game, right? Like, Artemi Panarin wants to be the highest paid player. He's made it clear, all the reports that have come out about his next contract. Like, when you go up against other teams' best players, it just has to be better than that. And I know we can all sit here and say, well, it's Colorado and they have McKinnon and McCarr, and those are two of the top 3 players in the NHL. But you can't, in the playoffs, are you making that excuse? Oh, they just lost to that's what it is every time. The Rangers' best players are not better than other teams' best players, and that's what's going to hold them back. It's not depth scoring, right? Like when it comes to the playoffs, it's not going to be the Rangers' third line didn't score, and that's why they didn't win the Stanley Cup. It's because their top guys are just not as good as other teams' top guys. They weren't better than Barkov and Kachuk. You know, they weren't better than Jack Hughes 3 years ago, right? And Jesper Bratt. Like I think that's the issue with this team right now. When push comes to shove, their best players aren't performing up to par with other teams' best players. And like that was really my whole point. Like last night, you have Trocheck's line of, you know, Trocheck, Miller, and I think Lafreniere was with them last night, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that.
Yeah. At least to start, yeah.
Yeah, and like Fox, like those guys were -4 last night, you know? And I know things moved around. I think it was Cooley,
Panarin.
Zibanejad, and Lafreniere. Panarin, Trocheck, Miller. That was the line. So Panarin, Trocheck, Miller are -4 last night. Like,
Yeah.
and that can't happen. And, you know, that was something else that I pointed out too. Like Lafreniere, I know people know that I love that. Like, I love him as a player, but without Trocheck and Panarin, he's a passenger, right? Like he needs 16 and 10 to be at his best. And it was clear last night, like he couldn't generate much with Cooley and with Zibanejad. And Arthur, to your point again, like the Rangers lost 3 games in a row. They had won 3 games in a row prior to this with Gabe Perreault up here in all 3 of those games. And we talked about how well balanced their lineup was when Perreault was up here. And that's not even all because of Perreault. That's just because of what Cooley does when he's playing with Noah Laba on the third line. Like it just, that's what it gives you. So a lot of question marks, but to me, it all comes down to, in a game like that, you just see what best players on teams do night in, night out versus what the Rangers' best players have been doing night in, night out. And I don't want to take away from like Zibanejad. I thought he played well, you know, but that's really all it comes down to for me with the Rangers.
What I'll add to that, and the Perreault conversation to me is such an interesting one because, and a lot of fans, Ranger fans that I follow on social media say this a lot, that like, this is a team that's trying to win a Stanley Cup right now. They are age-wise and contract-wise, this is the window, even if it doesn't look like it. They're not retooling, they're not rebuilding. I understand there's been a lot of changes these last couple of years. So why are you so concerned with Gabe Perreault's development and minutes at the NHL level when you're losing time? You know, this is, even if Artemi Panarin says, I'm not going to waive my no move clause or no trade clause to the end of the year, I want to stay here. I want to make, you know, get a 3 times 12 or whatever type contract he's looking for. And if he doesn't get it and he signs somewhere else for nothing, like, where do they go? Are they going to just like sell? You know, you're not getting rid of JT Miller. He's pretty much untradeable with that contract. You're not getting rid of Mika Zibanejad. He doesn't want to leave, and his contract is fairly untradeable too. You're not going to trade Adam Fox. You're not going to trade Shesterkin. So how do you have these 2 things that are at cross purposes, which is the roster, however you think of it, is built to win now, and then you've got this 20-year-old who's seemingly playing well enough that he's probably getting close to that too good for the AHL level, and you're worried that he's only playing 11 minutes a night at the NHL level. Like, that part doesn't compute for me. And I understand that what Chris Drury wants and what Mike Sullivan wants aren't always the exact same things. And that happens a lot at the NHL level, that the GM and the development team versus the NHL coach who's coaching for his job, sometimes those things don't align. But to me, everybody should be in alignment. This is a desperate situation. I don't know how much longer Jim Dolan wants to watch this team be on the roller coaster. And now they're on the downslope pretty heavily. So that part confuses me a little bit, that why aren't you doing everything you can to have the best alignment you can, especially with a forward group that we just watched. The high end of it is not the same, is not close to the high end of some teams that are Stanley Cup contenders. You got to make it as good as you can make it.
All right. Let's move into some. I didn't know if you had something.
I was waiting for you to chime in there. No, I agree. You're bang on. You're bang on. I also, you know, it's just, I think you got a coaching staff that has problems trusting pretty much all the players. You know what I mean? Like to go get a job done when the score is this or situation is that. So it's kind of like, you know, it's understanding that they are in that mode now and they feel like they can be competitive now, but also they, they don't have think about it, like they don't have a line that Mike Sullivan can tap on the shoulder, a because the lines are going to get juggled all over because no one's really gotten a ton of cohesion besides, I guess, offensively since Vinny's been back, that line. um but like he doesn't have a line he could tap on his shoulder and know what's going to happen that shift. You know what I mean? Like that's such a luxury for a coach to have, and really every team should have that line where it's like, hey, get over there, win this draw, get over there, have a shift, finish this period out. They don't have any of that. So I think they're still trying to figure that out. So I think that the knee jerk reaction to that is you're going to bring up a kid from the American Hockey League, and it's like there's so many things that they don't have in place right now. So I don't know. You got a point. I get it when he's up there. Maybe it slots everybody appropriately because I'll be very redundant in saying I agree with you. The New York Rangers are a much more scary team, and Will Cooley's on your third line than your second line or first line. Like that's
Mhm.
just you have a good team if you have Will Cooley on your third line. If he's up higher than that, you're fine. I mean, he's a good player. I'm
Yeah.
not. This isn't a knock to him, but it just shows that maybe what you're lacking on your roster if you have him up too high.
Yeah. No, I think that's perfectly said. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get some voicemails, so we'll save some Ranger talk for later. And I feel bad. I know we, I guess, haven't even really touched the Devils yet, but let's get into some Devils talk. You know, Jersey John, is it
It's
Jersey
probably
John
for
who
the
calls
best.
in?
It's probably for the best, and I want to say this too. Like,
Yeah.
so here's how we were chatting about it too. For some of these episodes, and we're still trying to navigate through how each show is going to be and get
Mhm.
through. And we want to be fair with every team, but we got to go with what is
Hot.
topical, what's going on. I mean, honestly, to be frank, and I don't know Devils fans. We don't probably want to go too deep on the Devils right now because I'm kind of getting nervous to be honest with you. So we'll talk the Devils, but also if you guys want any viewers from any of the fan bases, you want us to speak a certain your team, that's where the voicemails come in. So if maybe your team's not getting represented, will be that one to give us a good question and make us like that's the fodder we're using all the time. So get those calls in and ask us questions because Johnny, I don't know. I mean the Devils are an interesting watch right now because they're not playing terribly, but I'm concerned that this is what we've seen in the past with no Jack Hughes. The team just seems lost offensively.
I thought they played well last night. I thought they played well enough to win. Sergei Bobrovsky
Yeah.
was outstanding.
hmm
They had a
Great
good
push at the end of
push.
the game.
Yeah,
The end of the game was they looked fantastic,
I
but
was just gonna say
if
that
you
as
just can't
well.
do it.
And you know, I think a big part of that, and we got a question last week about Sheldon Keefe, right? Like tinkering with lines,
Yeah.
and whatnot. Rupper, you know, I know we were talking about it earlier about what lines like were disappointing last night for the Devils. It was that Meyer, Dawson Mercer, Connor Brown line. That's your second line right now, right? Like you look at their lineup just on paper, and it's like, this is who the Devils are right now. Like everything just looks a little bit I odd, I guess would be the lack of a better term. But then, you know, they toy with it, and late in the game, you get the push because you put together Bratt, Heischer, Meyer, like Timo
Yeah.
Meyer playing alongside Dawson Mercer and Connor Brown. Like, what are you really getting out of him? He's not a guy who's going to drive that line. Like, that's not the kind of player Timo Meyer is anymore. Like, he needs to
No.
be the bully, the bulldog that can, you know, help get the puck to the more skilled players that they can do something with it. He's not going to do something with it by himself. But again, like as far as last night's game goes, I think the game against Tampa, you just kind of burned that one, right? First game
Yeah.
without Jack. Markstrom didn't play good. Maybe that's the conversation, right? We got a question from Jersey John last week about game 7, who you starting, Jake Allen or Markstrom. And right now, like Allen, it's Allen's net for sure. We talked about splitting
Well,
them.
why everybody we're all saying that. I mean,
Yeah.
I just don't understand why they're not doing that. You know what I mean? Like so
Yeah.
Jake Allen or sorry, Markstrom Markstrom was out. All right. This is really dating it back, but if we're talking about Colorado and what a juggernaut they are, I still think I didn't love the decision Marky's first game back being against
Yeah.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Like I didn't like that. Jake was on a run. It's like, I don't know. I not that you need to protect him, but he hasn't played, and you're gonna put him up against that team. And it was just like then all of a sudden it's like the confidence or lack thereof, just you could see it. He just wasn't himself. So then he gets dinged up the other day, but he's healthy enough to back up this game. Like it's just it's a weird this team needs Jacob Markstrom to be Jacob Markstrom. So you have a goalie that is playing awesome in Jake Allen. Just why aren't we leaning into that? Why aren't you leaning into that more and let Markey get himself right? Because I mean, I even think back to remember coming out of an All-Star break a couple years ago when Quickie got a couple starts
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
Igor,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh Jesus, what are you guys like? That's awesome. Like I just didn't think they were going to do that, but it was like the right thing at that moment. And then you know Igor can start finding his game again. We've seen this year. I mean, you're dating back to 2019. Was 19 18 Washington Capitals where that was Holtby was sitting, you know, and then
Was it
Holtby got his
Neuwirth?
game right.
Yeah, Neuwirth in
I'm
goal, I
sorry.
think, right? Was it Neuwirth that was getting the net, right? Michael Neuwirth, was
I
he
think that year was it Grubauer that year?
Oh, maybe,
I think it
Might
maybe,
have
was
been
maybe.
I think it was
Grubauer, yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
Grubauer, but
yeah.
anyways, the point being is that like there's nothing wrong with sitting down your starter and letting him get his game right mentally, physically, whatever it is. But right now it's like Markey doesn't look like himself. He's obviously dealing with something. I don't know. That one kind of baffles me why you don't give Jake Allen some consecutive starts here.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Arthur, your
the
thoughts last night?
Tampa game for me the other night, and obviously offensively they were a little bit reeling because the Jack thing had just happened. But that first goal by Jake Gensel, you know, in that game, a breakaway goal. I don't think I've
Let's get
seen
morning
a goalie
skate.
stand up on and not react like that. I think maybe 20 years since I saw a goalie stand up on an NHL breakaway, and I just, you know, you kind of clock it and say like, there's something wrong physically, or there's something wrong psychically with him, you know, confidence wise. And either way, I'm with you. You gotta, and I know that the announcement they made, he's dealing with something. But again, Nico Dawes came up when Markstrom was out and played a fantastic game. I know it's one game, but you can run with Allen and Dawes for a couple of weeks to let Markstrom get right physically, get right mentally. This cushion that they've built themselves, and I understand it's dwindling if you can keep losing games because the East is so tight. But even if you lose a couple, or you let him sit out and you just kind of, you know, you play 500. We talked about it the last show. You're really at this point with the points that they've banked, you're trying to tread water until Jack is back or until Pesci's back, until you start to get healthy again. So you're going to have to grind out these games, whether you've got your number one goalie in net or whether you've got your number three goalie in net. So just let the guy sit, let him convalesce, let him start to figure it out, because these games are going to be a grind no matter what. And, you know, I think it's a big, to me, the guy that I'm looking at with Jack out is Dawson Mercer. You know, he's a guy who got his extension, had a super hot start playing with Heischier and Meyer on the wing, and now he's got to move back to center, where he hadn't really established himself as an NHL player. You know, he was more of like a depth guy as a center these last few years, and now he's been bumped up, playing good in the top six on the wing. But if you're going to be that kind of guy that wants to get that third contract, is going to be a knockout one in a couple of years, you got to show us some stuff in Jack's absence here, and anchor that second line. No matter who you're playing with, you got to be a guy that's driving the play. You got to be a guy that's doing the things he was doing alongside Meyer and Heischier for a couple of weeks. So Mercer to me is kind of the key guy here, no matter what else is happening, where if he can start to generate some offense and be able to contribute and make something out of a second line when they really need it, that would go a long way.
I also just want to talk about the like online abuse that Luke Hughes gets. You know, last night Sam Reinhart scores that all class goal, right? Like that is a difficult play for anyone in the NHL to make. And all I see is Devils fans saying like, guess who was defending him? Right? Like, you know what I mean? I think I don't want to say at times it's unwarranted. I think Luke can be a little bit careless with the puck and maybe is caught out of position sometimes defensively, but to blame him on that goal last night when like that's really just all Reinhart making an unbelievable play. I think Devils fans got to pump the brakes a little bit with the amount that they're killing Luke Hughes. And I feel like Rupper, you might have said something about this on the last show, but he's still a young kid, like coming into his own in the NHL, given a lot of responsibility. And I don't know, man. Like I obviously just like I love the Hughes brothers. I think I've been very outspoken about that, so I'll like always defend them. But yeah, I don't know. They're all over this kid.
Well, it's which is wild. Like, I mean, because I don't, you haven't had a defenseman in this organization like this in a very long time. I mean, it's like he's first of all, with the injuries and everything, even dated back to last year, the stuff that he's gotten thrown into.
Mhm.
Well, like you just let's be all real here. He was not ready to be thrown into any of it when he was even dating back last year. I thought he's handled it extremely well, logging a boatload of minutes, playing his offside, having defensive partners switching pretty frequently, doing whatever's necessary for this team. Man, his game is he's a stud. And is he going to have nights like that? Absolutely. You know what he kind of reminds me of in some ways? Maybe he kind of reminds me of a Chris Letang in this. I'll give you this.
Okay.
So Chris Letang, fans in Pittsburgh destroyed him over his career. Just about like he will make that one play that you're watching highlights, you're like, what was he doing there? You know what I mean? But Chris Letang was also that defenseman that was squashing plays that never even developed because of his skating ability up in the neutral zone, up at the offensive blue line, sitting in on guys in the offensive zone. So I'm like, he did 10 plays that stopped odd man rushes against. Yes, that one play was very polarizing. That's what everybody's going to talk about because we're gonna grab this snippet and that's what looks bad. But Luke does that too. Like Luke is not a finished product. He will be better and get better defensively, but I actually like some of the things he does, and he's different. He's aggressive. He's aggressive defensively because he's aggressive offensively, if that makes any sense at all. And you're going to have those moments, but there's a lot of moments in the game that no one even sees developing because he's already squashing it or he's up in a spot that usually defensemen aren't. And I know from being a winger, when you have defensemen, you're playing against guys like that, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare when you just have someone on top of you because he knows he's a better skater than you. He knows that he can get a stick involved in there. So that's one thing. I lay off him a little bit here. Give him some time. I think he's handled. I think he's gotten dealt a lot, and he got thrown into the fire, and I thought he's handled it pretty darn well up to this point.
Arthur, anything on
Yeah, I
Luke?
mean, they're basically, since Pesci went out, they're basically playing 5D, and he's playing 25, 26 a night. He was playing on his offside when Dougie was out. Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me, a little bit. We were just talking about Panarin. I think you got to live with it. This is a kid who's a special talent, kind of a unique player for a defenseman. I think you gotta live with the mistakes because you want him to have as much confidence as possible. And yeah, that clip, it's not like the JT Miller clip from Vegas where you're just like, oh gosh, this guy, what are we doing here? And I sort of feel like, you gotta, fans don't have to appreciate what they got all the time, but I think most of the time, and recognize the situation here that they're missing the guy, the piece that puts all their D in the right spot, in Pesci. And then when you were missing Dougie for whatever it was, a week plus, you really basically playing four guys back there, and Luke is playing mostly on his offside. Yeah, I don't see it, the negativity with him. I feel like he's been a big part of, considering he missed pretty much all of training camp, to kind of hit the ground running there and help this team get out to the start that they got out to. He was a big part of it, and I think he's going to be a big part of whatever they do. So you got to live with some of the mistakes. You live with some of the clips that maybe don't look good, because the other stuff is great. It's not many teams have that.
And Arthur, we might have actually jinxed it a little bit when that clip we posted not too long ago about Jesper Bratt being the Devils' best player. I think he's got one goal in his last 13 games.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that like Jesper is a product of Jack, because I don't really believe that. But right now, like I think it's totally fair to challenge guys like Bratt and Heischer and say, who are you without Jack? And we've obviously seen them without Jack before because Jack's been hurt. But this is now like, it's got to be a challenge, right? Like Nico Heischer had a monster year last year. I think he started a little bit slow offensively. And, the lack of goal scoring, it's kind of like similar to what we talk about with Will Cooley and the Rangers, because you have like bottom six guys playing top six that they're just not necessarily adaptable to play or comfortable playing, but they don't really have a choice because of all their injuries. It's not like it's a lineup decision. But we talk about the Devils staying afloat and holding on to their playoff position, but if they're splitting the net between Markstrom and Allen and they're getting the performances they're getting from Markstrom and they're lacking offense like they're showing the last two games, not for lack of chances, but for lack of finish, they're in big trouble. Big trouble. Yeah, that's all I got to say, I guess. Just, but I look at Heischer and Bratt and see what they're made of here, obviously over these next 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
between Heischer, Bratt, and
Meyer, I guess you can throw in there too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are really good players. All right, now we need you to be very good and maybe even better right now. Are they capable? 100%. And maybe it's a little tweak in the game of Nico Heischer also, because we've always talked about this team having two number one centers. Now this is where Nico needs to show that he is a number one center, and he has been. He's awesome. He's one of my favorite players to watch. His season hasn't been great to his standard, but now it's time that he finds that, and that's really where I wouldn't say I'm worried about. No, why I'm worried about them is because that we've seen the injuries for this hockey club, and like can they be fine till Jack gets back, and just assuming that Jack can step in and beat Jack. I think this team will be fine. They'll make some moves down the stretch, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, we can't always guarantee that every what we need to see right now.
I'm looking at the Devils' schedule over the next few games. Honestly, like as far as strength of schedule goes, they got the Flyers in Philly tomorrow. They're home against the Red Wings, home against the Blues, in Buffalo, home against the Flyers, home against the Blue Jackets. And then their schedule gets a little bit harder. But these next 5 games, like without Jack, they got some listen, everyone says there's no easy game in the NHL. But these are the games where the Devils, this 5-game segment here, like they gotta at least come out of this.
Yeah, they
with
got to get some points.
minimum 6 points, minimum.
Oh, yeah, for
Or
sure.
else I think this 5-game segment will be a big telling point of what their continuous year will look like without Jack. But I think we should get into some voicemails. We've been going here for like a little bit north of an hour, and the voicemails always give us some lengthy conversation. So Vic, you want to cue up the first voicemail for us today? This is from Anonymous. All right, let's hear it.
What's up? Big Devil fan right here. Big hockey fan. I'll usually tune into the Isles and the Rangers if the Devils are not playing. My question's about the two young guys on New Jersey, Arseny Gritsuk and Simon Nemec. Obviously, you touched on Nemec a little bit, even Gritsuk a little. With the injuries the Devils are facing, that equals opportunity, and these guys are going to be putting up more points and seeing more ice time, which only means their price tag is not going to get any cheaper. So my question is, both of them have to get new deals this offseason. With the cap going up and the money thrown at young players, especially young D-men, what do you think their next contracts will look like? And I just want to put it out there, keep in mind that Nico Heischer and Dawson Mercer have to get signed the following offseason, so you can't go all out with all your spending this offseason. Thank you, and keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, so this is what does Nemitz and Gritsuk's Gritsuk's a little bit tougher because he's kind of bounced around the lineup. Like right now he's playing top line, but he's played fourth line. Like I don't know if we know what Gritsuk is yet, so I don't know if we could pinpoint like a number. Like, are you giving him $7 million to be a third liner, or are you going to give him like $9 million to be what?
I don't think numbers. This guy's a 24-year-old guy who's came over from the played 3 years pro in the KHL. You give him $2 million on his next deal. He should take it,
Yeah.
or else
I think it's
he
going to
can
be
go
some.
home.
I
Like,
think
You
it's
think
going to
it's
be.
that low?
Yeah.
Well, I
I
mean,
think we're
it's
talking.
yeah. I think it's somewhere in that. Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
probably unless he does something incredible the rest of the year. I love him, but like it's around. I think
He's
yeah,
he's a
$2-3
I mean,
million
we saw
$40 he's a
Jackson
40
Blake. Jackson Blake got 5.1 after like 1 year.
Yeah, but Jackson Blake is a homegrown guy, younger. He's not 24. I think this is a different situation. This is a two times 3 or 3 times 3.5, something like that. Like he's not a surefire top 9 guy in a crowded lineup. The Devils, if they go out and add a winger like everybody wants them to before the end of the season, does he stay in the top 9 even? I don't know. Probably not. Like
I think he's a hell of a
fourth line guy.
player. I
He
like
is.
him.
Yeah,
He
no,
is.
I'd keep him in the top 9. But I think that, again, to go off of totally different players, but it goes off of like give me Gritsuk on that third line, and that third line it's been a revolving door. I mean, we had I personally thought the best time that third line looked was for a hot second was Cody Glass with Gritsuk and Connor Brown. I think that was the line.
Yeah.
But there's also been some different pieces. I think Palat was in there at some point. They got some options, but I think he's been awesome. He's been really good, and he's a serviceable guy that can move up and down. But I agree. I don't think you're cooking a ton if he's going to be in your top 6 at this stage. Doesn't mean he can't be that in the future. But I don't know what his contract is one that's I think totally whatever doable. It'll be under control. The Nemitz one gets me a little bit because I think that could be a tricky one because what he's doing right now is awesome. I love to see it. I hope he continues this progression. I think at some point, we said it on this pod, when this team gets healthy, something's going to have to give, whether it's Dougie Hamilton or him in some way, shape, or form. I just don't think, put it this way, I think the Nemitz camp will be looking for something that the Devils are not ready to do on him. And so that could be a very, very interesting one moving forward.
Yeah, and I think some of the contention between his camp and the Devils over usage that when he spoke out last summer about maybe wanting to move on, that obviously factors into it. He's not going to give them any discounts. I understand it's a second contract, but he's a right shot D, the most, it's the unicorn spot in the NHL. It's what everybody's looking for. Is a Simone Nemitz type at his age,
and his representation knows that. Like that's, what I mean? Like this is, they know that, they know what that could be somewhere else. So that's where it's going to be an issue.
I'm surprised you guys think the Gritsuk contract would be that low. I feel like they love him.
Dude, I want you to be my agent. Fucking $7 million? Are you out of your goddamn mind?
I'm just thinking like
there is a salary cap in this league, buddy. What are you doing?
It's still obviously like super early to tell for him. I'm just trying to look up where he is here on he's okay. He's got 10 points in 20 games, like in his
he's a 40-point guy.
Like, but
it's a 24-year-old rookie who's going to be a 40 to 45-point guy that's your next contract is a bridge deal for $3 million.
But like Cooley got 4, like he probably could have gotten 5. Like, I think
Cooley had 20 goals last year, man.
Well, if the contract year was, well, I guess it was. I don't know. I guess he just confuses me. Also, just the numbers are different now, so it's like,
I know.
Like Shane Pinto just got 7.5. Shane's playing third line center.
Pinto is a fucking first round pick, man.
I'm just saying, like, I know, and I love Shane. I think that was a great deal. But
if he's watching right now, he's going to be like, "You're comparing me to this guy? What are you doing to me, buddy?"
No, I just think, again, I think the ceiling that the Devils have for Gritsuk, maybe.
I understand. You still can't.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All
right.
You still can't. You can't push the cart that far ahead with a guy like that, especially
fair enough.
1 year, 20 games.
Fair enough.
All right, DM.
Let's get to the next one.
Next?
Let's get to the next one. Save me, thank you. From Mr. Mike.
Hey, Jonny Rupper,
Oh,
Mr.
shit.
Staple.
Oh, shit.
This is Mr. Mike calling from East Windsor, Connecticut, formerly of Syosset, New York. Yes, that's Syosset, New York, Johnny.
Nice.
Wanted to touch on the Rangers because another tough loss last night. They fought back towards the end, but this team needs scoring. They're missing something in that top six. They had Gabe Perreault in there for a little bit, and he provided that spark. Obviously, he wasn't producing points, but he had made the lineup a little bit more balanced. I feel like this lineup has way too many bottom six guys, a lot of third liner guys. It's not a bad thing, but doesn't really equate to scoring in the top six. So there's a lot of no movement clauses with the Rangers. It's very hard to make some moves because of the cap. But do you think the Rangers will do something with that? And who would they go after for? I think somebody like Philip Forsberg would be perfect on this team. It is a star player that this team could absolutely use. Or Tage Thompson. That's my ultimate fantasy, but that'll never happen. So, but I wanted to hear what you guys think. So those are my two.
Well, Mr.
Johnny.
Mike, I think everybody would want Philip Forsberg or Tage Thompson. I don't know what they'll be able to do. Again, like we touched on it, these are hard contracts to move on from. And it's not like they necessarily have the shiniest toys to sell either, right? Like the Rangers don't have a ton of prospects. Like Brennan Othman's value has totally plummeted. I don't know what you're really giving up to gain something like a Forsberg or Thompson. I think that's kind of a pipe dream. So yeah, it's going to be, I don't want to say nearly impossible, but very, very difficult to fix this roster, at least in the season right now. And I
mean,
hate to shit on Mr. Mike's dreams, but that's just kind of the cards we're dealt right now.
If you're talking either of those guys, I mean, Tage Thompson isn't going anywhere, but
No.
if he demands to go somewhere, if you're talking Philip Forsberg, you know, if you're trying to be like look through and see, you're talking probably both, at least the Rangers' first round pick, and I don't even know if you can lottery protect it because that would be the whole point of the deal.
Yeah,
you're talking Gabe Perreault, you're probably talking Will Cooley, you're probably talking EJ Emery. Like you're clearing the cupboard to get this guy. And again, to our point that we made earlier, if they're trying to win now, why are you playing this, you know, this kind of half in, half out game with your younger guys? Are you going for it? Are you not going for it? I think if they're not going for it, then yeah, you just got to eat it. You got to start thinking about moving people out rather than bringing people in. I think the bringing people in conversation comes after you make more subtraction. So yeah, the Rangers have always been able to make big name trades for good or for bad. And I think Chris Drury has been able to turn some of his guys that he wants out of there into some things, at least to make some space for guys. And I think some of his in-season trades, when they've been good, have been really good. But this is a whole other animal to me, where you're just like trying to walk this fine line. Like, we suck, we can't score. We've got these guys that are all locked in over 30, don't want to leave. And then we're going to bring in another guy in that same category.
How old is Phil? 29, 30? Is he 30?
He's getting. Let's take a look.
Yeah,
while Rupper's talking, let's take.
Yeah,
a look.
no, I think it all goes back to what we're saying. Like, just where's the
31.
expectations of 31? I mean, this is the expectations of this team. Like, I don't believe that they're going to say we're going to take a couple steps back. I think they're going to try to shuffle the deck and be creative in doing that, or try to be creative in doing that. And we talked about Panarin on not knowing what that's going to look like moving forward. But then also the free agent class, who the Rangers are always have the ear of free agents. It's not like Alex Tuck. Is he like he's 29. It's the same thing. So you're just going to bring a guy in and just be like, oh, this is going to, like, Phil Forsberg or whatever the circumstance is. It's a kind of a slippery spot here. So I think it's almost like, you know, I don't know what that would even look like as far as trying to make a move. Is it letting whether it's trading or letting Panarin go, then you bring in Alex Tucker. You're really getting ahead of things here. Like, they're different players. Like Panarin still drives offense a lot more. And it's just like they're in a really weird spot because they're built to win now. The only problem is they don't have a team that is showing they're able to win now. Are they going to keep trying to hammer that home? Or I think they are. I think they're committed to it at this point. Like, I don't know how you can back out. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a very, very tough spot.
And when it comes to Forsberg, I think he's the perfect guy the Devils trade for. Give up one of those right-handed D. Like the right-handed side for Nashville's blue line is not that strong. Like you give up, either Nemitz or Dougie, and you try to get Phil. Like I think that's the team that should be going after Philip Forsberg.
The Rangers should try to get is that Arseny Gritziuk. I hear he's like a $7 million a year player. So
I'm all for it. Well, the one thing honestly though that's funny. The one thing that's funny, though, that I love about, like, hockey fans, and we're all guilty of it, like, I've done it too, right? Like, Gritsuk's 24. You know who else is 24 years old?
Who?
Alexis Lafreniere. And everyone's like, Lafreniere is not young anymore. And here comes the question. Gritsuk's a young guy. Like, yeah, I know Gritsuk's in his rookie year in the NHL, but, like, they're the same age. Like, just because one guy has been in the league for 6 years versus another guy who's just coming over, like, they're the same age. Like, they're both, you know what I mean? Like, just funny how we have that perception. But let's get into the next voicemail.
Yeah.
From Gianni.
Hello, fellows. Gianni from Jersey here. I was going to save this question for closer to the deadline, but figured I'd ask it now and see if your opinions differ as the year goes on. I would like your thoughts on the future of one Quinn Hughes. Do you think he re-signs in Vancouver? If not, he's obviously getting traded because they can't let him walk for nothing. When do you think that trade occurs, and what package do you think you're looking at? Obviously, it depends on the team, so you can say what team too. As a Devils fan, I think it's ideal if you get this trade done this deadline. I think it's more realistic. It happens in the summer because it's going to be big, but regardless, the package, if you get away with Casey, Lenny Eminaho, and like 2 firsts, I think that'd be pretty sick. They probably want one or both of Nemo / Salayev. I'd kind of want to keep both. I'd say GMTF probably has the more leverage here because, like we said, they can't walk for nothing. Obviously, another team can come in, but he wants to play with his brothers, and we have 2 of them. Not a big deal. And would another team trade for him without knowing he'll sign? That's a lot to give up, but I mean, for 2 cup runs, it's probably worth it. Would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
Can I say one thing quick?
Thanksgiving hot stove. What's up, Johnny?
I think this, like, Quinn wants to play with his brothers narrative has been, like, the most blown out of proportion. What player in the NHL has ever said, nope, I don't want to play with my brother? Like, they asked the question, of course he's going to say, at some point, I would love to play with my brothers. Everyone with a brother has said that before. Like, I feel like it's become this automatic Quinn is going to the Devils conversation where, like, I don't feel that way. He was asked a question and answered it, and now it's just blown into this, like, automatic thing that I don't. Yeah,
I know what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying because it's a pretty normal thing. Like if I had a brother,
so
yeah, I
normal.
want to play with them. But you have 8 brothers. Yeah, we all want to play on the same team. Like why would you not? I would bet the farm these 3 brothers are on the same team. Like they will play on the same team in the NHL. I think sooner than later. And so does that mean it's New Jersey? Quite possibly. I think it'd be a really wild situation if it was somewhere else. The one thing I would say though to the caller is I would also bet the farm that
how big's this farm, Ripper?
Quinn, I got multiple farms. Quinn will not. I think there was a time where you could think maybe just align and kind of work out as far as when all their contracts are up. Remember, that was the big thing that we were looking for in Luke's. Like, how long is Luke's contract going to be? Where does that line up with Jack's? Like, oh, we're trying to read the tea leaves here. I don't think that Quinn is going to sign a short-term deal in Vancouver. I think Vancouver, and this is where it gets really, really interesting. He's got no trade protection. So what does Vancouver it's kind of nuts. Like Vancouver needs to trade Quinn Hughes. Like you see it coming, and we saw it with the Kachucks. And they're all friends, and they all grew up together playing at USA hockey. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this, it's going to happen. I think the bigger thing is that can we stop pretending that he's going to be in Vancouver? He's not going to be in Vancouver. This team looks like they have no. This is a tough team. They now all of a sudden they got a lot of things not going their way as far as the direction in the future. So like it's a really interesting spot because before maybe they all played together. Potentially, maybe it's Quinn getting moved somewhere else first. Vancouver's got to do that. Like, how do you not get an absolute haul for Quinn Hughes?
Yeah, I shook my head at that trade proposal because it seems awfully light and without any trade protection. Yeah, I don't imagine that Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford are just going to be like, well, he wants to go to Jersey, so
Yeah,
that's the only team we're going to negotiate with. You got to get the best package back for him that you can get if you're going to throw him out on the open market. And there's going to be a lot of, even without an extension, I think there's going to be a lot of teams that would say
what do
like,
you
yeah,
think that?
we
Like,
like Quinn Hughes.
let's just have fun and counter that. Like, what do you think that would look like? Like, if that was to happen now, like, I think it's got to be like Nemitz, Mercer,
Yegorov. I think the goalie prospect is in there. A couple
like
of draft
it's
picks.
big.
It's a lot, yeah. And they have the assets to do it. They have the assets to do it. So, and I think you're right. You do whatever it takes to get him on your team, especially if you're the team in the Devils that knows that you can sign him. Obviously, you'd probably prefer to trade Dougie than Nemitz, but I don't think Vancouver's going to go for that. But yeah, if he's available at all, and you're Tom Fitzgerald, you just send the email with no names on it and wait for the response, the email or the text back, and say just fill in who you're asking for, and then we'll start there because you got to get this guy. And I'm with you, Rupper. I don't think he's going to be a Canuck beyond this season, if he's even makes it to the end of this season. And if that's the case, even if you know that you might be bidding against yourself, if you're the Devils, you got to push to the front of the line for that. You got to.
Who's the last like big name defenseman that got traded? Like, I'm trying to like compare it to like maybe a previous trade we've seen, but I can't think of anyone like close to Quinn Hughes' like
Dobson is the most
stature.
recent one.
I mean, you can't.
I mean, you probably have to go back to the big Subban Weber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
say
I
a
guess-
unique one.
Yeah. Well, PK had won a Norris, right, before he was traded, didn't he? Because yeah, like I can't think of any in like the past few years. I mean, the Dobson one, yeah, you can, or even
That's just
yeah.
the last guy that's kind of in his youth or prime that got moved. I know that they're not the same class of player, but
Yeah.
as far as like current NHLers, that was and I don't think the Islanders really threw that one open to as many bidders as they could find either. I think it was Montreal and it was Columbus, and that was really it. And that's mostly because I don't know teams wanted to commit the number that Noah Dobson was looking for, and so I think that limits your audience. But I think Quinn Hughes without trade protection and ready to move, yeah, that you can run that tab up pretty high if you're Vancouver to try to see what you get back for him.
I just wouldn't say it's automatic that Quinn's a devil, and I feel like that's where we've gotten to just because of like that one quote he gave, right?
I disagree. I don't know if he'll be a devil for this trade, but I think when he's making his decision as a free agent, he'll be a devil.
Oh, if you think he gets the free agency? Oh, okay. So he got traded, not
if he
signed.
gets traded somewhere that's not
Got
Jersey
it.
this year, and then he goes into the off season. Yeah, I think he's making sure that he goes where he wants to go, which probably is New Jersey.
All right. Let's get into the next one. We have 3 left, I believe. This is from Scott.
Hey guys, Scott from Long Island here. Quick question about the Islanders, specifically Casey Zizekas. Obviously, everyone could tell that he's lost a step, hasn't been really killing any penalties, and the fourth line has been just okay with a lot of talent on it besides him. Do you think Raw keeps playing him because of his veteran presence and he's a big locker room guy? Do you see him getting scratched at all during the season, depending on his play? Keep up the great work. Love the podcast. Thanks, guys.
I feel bad for Scott because,
Yep.
as our producer Vic is pointing out, that was sent before last night when Casey Zizekas went out of his mind to have 3 assists, and that fourth line looked as good as it's looked probably since Casey was between his two boys, Clutter and Matt Martin. But yeah, I think it's been a struggle for Zizekas the last couple of years. He lost his spot as a regular penalty killer. That was kind of part of his identity. I know the identity line was such a huge thing, but when those other two guys age out and finish up their careers, I think he was left a little bit adrift. And now to be able to fit in with this group where you've got a 20-year-old and Cal Ritchie, who's probably doesn't project out as a fourth liner, but that's a spot for him right now. And either Max Siplikov or Max Shabanov, two guys that are, I think we're known as more skill guys in the KHL. It's a tough one for Zizekas, and I think the way it worked well last night was he took they score a goal right off a faceoff. They score a goal off a like we were saying, Ben Sherratt loses his mind. They get in an odd man rush. He plays a part in that key shorty for Kyle Palmieri in Dallas a couple nights ago. This is what he can do. He gets in the middle of things. He disrupts. He can forecheck. I think there is a space for him. I mean, you go back 2 years, Patrick Wass, when he takes over in January, they play that playoff series against Carolina. Casey Zizekas was playing with Horvat and Barzal on the top line, just as kind of that kind of, bowling ball type guy who gets in, tries to separate guys from the puck, gets it to the skill guys, and then, tries to cause some traffic. So as long as he knows his role, and I think he certainly understands his role now, he's not going to be killing penalties regularly. He's not going to be a 12, 13-minute a night guy. He's going to be a 7, 8-minute a night guy. And if he can have nights like he had last night, yeah, keep him in the lineup. I understand that he shouldn't be in there in pen like he has been for a lot of his 900-plus games as an Islander, but still effective. And that, no offense to you, Scott, I certainly heard it plenty. I brought it up myself, that why should he be an automatic in the lineup? Well, here's why, and this is his big middle finger to everybody who thinks he shouldn't. He should be sitting out, and that's the Casey Zizekas that Islanders fans have grown to love over all these years.
I don't think I got anything to add to that. I think that was perfect.
No, I don't have anything. The only thing I would add is the way things stand right now. Like, I just don't think long term on this team, your fourth line is going to have Cal Ritchie. I just don't think that that's the right developing spot. So maybe in some ways that helps Zizekas, because then you can have let's just get a veteran line, knows what they need to do here. It doesn't mean Cal Ritchie's going to be out. It means Cal Ritchie's going to need to go somewhere else in the lineup. But I think it's okay for them to have a solid pro fourth line that understands their role and what their job is. So I think that's still a work in progress right now.
Let's get into the next one. This is from Tom.
With the Rangers' early struggles, Jack Hughes going down, is there an actual chance the Islanders have the most points by the trade deadline?
1,000%. Yeah,
absolutely.
1,000%. Yeah, the Islanders most points by the deadline. The Islanders could be in first in the Metropolitan by the deadline. I mean, the Metropolitan Division right now, like the Carolina Hurricanes have taken hits to their blue line too. They're facing some injuries. As long as the Islanders stay healthy, to me, they're in it just as much as anybody else.
You sound so sour about that, man. So sour.
Me? Not at all.
Isn't it funny though? Like, isn't it funny how weird the league is right now with everybody being so squished in the standings here, where let's just take it as a whole, not this recent run that the Islanders have been on, just as a whole. If you're gonna zoom out a little bit, this season, like, the Devils have been the talk, and the Devils are this. They were in first place a lot, and the Islanders, what do we got? I mean, well, man, Sorokin hasn't found his game. He is now. The team gives up a lot of. They're 1 point back. They're 1 point back now. They played one more game. They're 1 point back now. So, I mean, this is it's a crazy NHL season where if you're a team and you can go around a bunch of different franchises, like if you're struggling, just open the standings and look. Doesn't matter if you're struggling. There's like 2 teams in the entire league that I'd be like, you guys are done. Everyone else, like it's there. It's there for everybody. And the Islanders, they certainly. That's why I said before they're intriguing to me because I agree with you. Theoretically they've got an opportunity. They could win the Metro. Like,
That's
do I
what
see it happening? Do I think it's got? I don't know yet. I think it's still too early for that. But they're looking pretty good right now, and it's certainly doable.
nothing, Arthur?
Yeah, the last voicemail. Let's get it done.
Okay. All right. This is from Ariel.
Hey guys,
Barzell.
don't you think
Barzell's
it's
fourth in
kind
the
of
slot.
crazy that Matt Barzell is still in need of wingers in the year 2025? I know we went out and got Bo for him and they played great together, but Wah likes them separated to give the lineup a little bit more depth, which is fine, but I don't think Simon Holmstrom and Jonathan Drouin are cutting it for him. They're not necessarily bona fide scorers. Simon plays his best hockey with Pajot, in my opinion, and it's just not working out with Barzell. I wonder if Darsh is looking at that and maybe wanting to add another winger after this road trip. Thanks.
Ariel, always a very thoughtful caller. I mean, but I will say, after this voicemail, you just know that Holmstrom and Drew are about to go on a scoring tear because Ariel is the one who left the voicemail saying that Barzal is allergic to the slot, and he scores that beauty last night from, I guess, the high slot area. And I know it hit like a shin pad maybe and bounced in. Arthur, yeah, you could probably take this one. And I know, like, right, like they were saying, he played with Leo Komarov for years. You know, like I think that's kind of like the conversation. But I think Druin's been pretty good.
Yeah, Druin's been a nice find for them, and I think he's fine on that wing. And Holmstrom, he was coming off an illness; he missed the game before. I don't know that he was feeling 100%. Yeah, Barzell's best spot is on Bo Horvat's wing. Like if they had a top line of Heineman, Horvat, and Barzell, if they had enough depth to allow that to be their top line, that'd be a fantastic line for them right now. But they don't, so Barzell's got to be a center. As far as adding, I feel like this season is gravy for me, right? Like if you're an Islander fan, all the question marks that you had going in, and obviously we're still very early, things could look a lot different in another 20 games when we get to the halfway mark. But I don't know that you're committed to saying like, well, now we're a buyer. Like we were thinking about being a seller, whether it was Anders Lee or Pajot. Now you can't just like flip it around and be like, well, things are going great. We're one of the best teams in the league the last 18 games. Let's start scouring around and seeing who we can add. I think Darsh, we talked about it on the show that they did call in the summertime on Simone Nemec. I think they called LA in the summertime on Brant Clark. I think he is looking long-term to see where they can find some young guys to fit in. If they make the playoffs this year and they go on a run, they win the division, even that kind of stuff. They win a couple playoff rounds. That's just a bonus. I understand that that's the point and that's what you're trying to do, but he is still evaluating this team. He's evaluating everybody on it, evaluating their prospect pool. So I can't see them suddenly committing to send some assets out to try to win now. It is wide open, but if they're doing what they're doing with this group, I don't know that you need to start scouring around for a Forsberg, for a Tuck. You see what opens up as it goes along. I know that's kind of cold water on you, Ariel, but I think they're going pretty good the way things are, and there's things they need to shore up that are not finding a scoring winger for Barzal. This is the best scoring Islanders team in 30 years. I think maybe if they're going to add something to help keep the puck out of their own net.
Mm-hmm. Rupp or anything?
Nope. No, I think you nailed it there.
All right. I think we have one quick surprise from Vic. Then we'll get into our bidding segment and we'll wrap it up. So Vic, what is a surprise that you have for us? There you go. Look at that. January 2nd, 2012. My Facebook status. The 16-year-old Jonny Lazarus. Good stuff, Vic. That's unbelievable. Huh?
Hasn't changed a bit.
What would you tell that kid, Rupper?
Oh, where were you? Were you there for the game or no?
I was probably right on this couch watching it in my parents' living room.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I love that stuff. Makes you feel old. You were just a teenager then, but that's great, man. I love great pull by Vic. Love it.
Yeah, unreal stuff. So let's get into our betting segment. presented by Novig, the future of sports betting. On Novig, you play against other real users, not the house. And it's the only commission-free exchange, so you keep every dollar you win. You'll get better odds than traditional sportsbooks, meaning you're 10 times more likely to win in the long run. Choose the best odds or offer your own. Trade Novig coins for fun or Novig cash to win real prizes. Sign up with code DailyFaceoff to get $50 in Novig coins when you spend $5 on your first purchase. Available in most states. Must be 21 or older to play. No purchase necessary. So I challenge Islander fans right now. You can go on Novig and you can actually select yes for the New York Islanders to make the playoffs. And I will match it and select no, so you have someone to go against. I will bet against all of you Islander fans that listens to our show that they will not make the playoffs, even though I kind of think they will. But that's what I'm willing to do for our lovely sponsor, Novig. That's going to wrap up episode 4 of the Tri-State Hockey Podcast. Thank you to everyone who left voicemails. Thank you to our producer, Vic. Most of all, thank you to you guys, Arthur and Repper. It's so much fun doing this show, and I think we'll talk to everybody on Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed that video, and if you want to see some more Tri-State hockey content, don't forget to leave a like and comment on the video below, and also subscribe to the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel.